I'm going to try and explain this again. No, you don't need a perspective to experience time, and light does experience time. And here's why. I have said in previous videos that the perspective of a photon does not exist. Many people see this and they're like, oh, a photon experiences no time. No, no time, zero time is not the same as being non-existent. Zero exists. Zero is a quantity. Zero is measurable. Remember in grammar school math class when they said you can't divide by zero? Anything divided by zero isn't zero, it's non-defined. That is literally what we're doing here. If you try to set something to the speed of light and work out the equations to time dilation, you end up dividing by zero. That is by definition not zero. By definition, it is not the case that photons experience zero time, because you would be saying that something divided by zero equals zero, and we know mathematically that is not true. It's undefined. Now you'll notice something. As you watch this video on your phone's staying still. But as I walk forward, it appears as if the world around me comes toward me and then goes behind me. But since your phone isn't moving, you're being shown this from a still vantage point. It looks as if I am standing still and the world is moving past me. That is what we call a reference frame. That is what we call a perspective. It is whatever point of view in which it seems that you are standing still and the universe is moving around you. Now here's the problem. One of the first laws of relativity is that the speed of light is constant in all reference frames. So when you say what happens from the perspective of a photon, you would have to look for the reference frame in which it appears that that photon is standing still and the universe is moving around it. But we just said relativity states that the speed of light is constant in all reference frames, which means there is no perspective in which a photon appears to be standing still and the universe moves around it. In every perspective, the speed of light moves the speed of light in front of you. So now we've established that again. We've established that light has no perspective. Photons have no perspective. Now let's tackle the idea that you need a perspective to experience time. You do not. You've watched this video, right? You have seen time tick as this video goes on. You would be fairly certain to say, I have experienced time from the beginning of filming this video to the end of filming this video. But in case you weren't sure, you could get someone else's perspective, right? You could find someone that was on the street as I filmed this video and say, hey, did time pass? And they would have seen time pass and they would be like, yes, time passed. And then you could ask me, you could be like, hey, when you filmed this video, did time pass? And I'd be like, yeah, time passed. If you added up all the infinite reference frames in the universe, you would see time passes. Now, if you did the same thing for a photon, the photon's personal perspective does not exist. We've established that. But in all the other reference frames, all the other infinite reference frames of the universe, time passes for it. And since reality, at the end of the day, has to agree, time must pass for the photon. In a previous video, I talked about how time dilation is the way that reality makes itself agree while keeping the speed of light constant. For the speed of light to be the same for me as it is for someone on a rocket ship moving 99.999% the speed of light, time has to slow down for that person on the rocket ship. That way, we always see the same photon that both of us observe moving through the same spatial coordinate. It's just that our time reference doesn't agree. When you are tracking anything anywhere, you could describe it with 4 coordinates: length, width, height, and time. So if we emit a photon from an emitter, from a laser, and then detect it at a detector, I could say the photon was emitted at time 1 and detected at time 2. The gap between time 1 and time 2 can always change due to time dilation. It can never be zero, and here's why. If there were any perspective anywhere in the world in which that gap was zero, time 1 would equal time 2. So that means the physical reality would be that that photon is at the emitter and the detector at the same time. And we could detect that because, like I said, the physical reality of what is happening has to agree between perspectives. So if all perspectives in the universe said that time passes for that photon, but from the photon's perspective, time didn't pass, that would break causality. And breaking causality in physics is a big no-no. And so we simply say the photon's perspective does not exist, but in every other perspective, we see time passing for it, so time must pass for it. This is such a common misunderstanding, and it's difficult to explain, because if you do say something like, well, from a photon's perspective, it experiences no time, that actually breaks relativity. That actually makes it so that we can't do the equations that we do to figure out time dilation in the first place. But it's become such a commonly repeated false science fact that everyone just kind of believes it right now, even other science educators. But again, this isn't coming from me. This is coming from physicists. I'm just the go-between here. And a lot of this largely comes from, honestly, overthinking it. If at any point you are trying to imagine what it would be like strapping a camera to a photon as it travels through reality, you're already done. You're already wrong. That is the exact thing that does not exist. And anytime you try to equate does not exist to zero, again, you are totally wrong. Null and zero are not the same thing. I know that someone in the comments is going to say, oh, well, the limit as we approach the speed of light makes it clear that it's equal to zero, but limits are not the same thing as physical reality. Limits are great tools in math that let us get past mathematical blocks when it comes to doing physics. The laws of physics literally change when you hit the speed of light. So what an equation appears to do as you approach the speed of light and what it does when you're at the speed of light are two physically different things. And so the limit of what happens as you approach the speed of light and what happens when you hit the speed of light are two very different things. So in this case, they are not mathematically interchangeable. If you made it this far into the video, congratulations, but now you have a better understanding of how relativity interacts with this notion of photons experiencing time. To show that you've gotten this far, say hi to Charlie in the comments. Hi, Charlie.